Hey everyone, Jonathan here from the Land Method, and today we're going to open things up a little bit and we're going to talk about the five biggest land investing mistakes that we have personally made. Now, the bottom line is we have done over 1,500 land deals, but we did not start with perfect systems and we're not perfect people. So we have made mistakes, and some of them cost us money, some of them cost us time, some of them cost us good deals, and most importantly, all of them taught us lessons that became the foundation of how we invest today. So, in this video, I want to walk through five of the biggest land investing mistakes that we've made so that you can avoid paying the exact same tuition that we've had to through this. So, a lot of people think that the biggest risk when it comes to land investing is just not finding deals. And that is a risk if you do it wrong, but that is not truly a giant risk. Sometimes the bigger risk is finding deals and handling them wrong. Bad pricing, bad market conditions, bad market selection, weak due diligence on your end, not having good communication with the seller, ignoring things like taxes that were there, or access issues, or title issues that might be on the property. And these are the things that can slow you down. Obviously, they also do a lot to kill your confidence and they can cost you money. So we're going to go through five mistakes that really matter. So the first one is obvious: bad pricing. This is probably the most common mistake of land investing. So this is when you're making offers. If your price is too high, you're basically creating risk for yourself before you even buy the property. If you price it too low, then you're never going to get enough quality leads from interested sellers. And if you're using the wrong comps, then the entire deal is just basically built on wrong information, bad information. Now, land is not like a house where you can compare three identical properties in the same subdivision and you feel confident. You're basically getting a price per square foot and you're like, I know exactly what I'm doing. With land, a lot of the small differences matter. Access matters, utilities matter, topography matters, the zoning on that property matters, the acreage matters, the size of the property, road frontage matters, whether or not it's in a flood zone matters, whether or not there's wetlands on the properties matters, whether or not the property has views matter, the use matters. What the buyer demand is in that area matters. So early on, like most investors, we learn that you can't just look at a few listings nearby and assume that you now know the value. Listings are not sales. And even if you're looking at sales, you need to understand that they have to be the same type of property that you're looking at, right? So listing prices, asking prices, those are not market value. And a property that's been sitting online for 2 years is not proof of what the land is that you're looking at is worth. So the lesson here is rather simple. Pricing has to be based on real market activity, and you have to focus on the property differences there. Using software also that people claim identifies all these nuances is a huge mistake that we see people make. Now, software can help, don't get me wrong, we use it, but it's not a replacement for your own human eyes. It simply cannot take into account all of the details that make a property different from the one next to it. And when you get the pricing wrong, everything else that follows just gets harder. So you got to watch out for that. A second mistake is targeting markets that don't actually support the land investing strategy. A lot of beginners pick areas completely randomly. They hear about a county online, perhaps it's near them, perhaps they live in it, they see some cheap land, they see low competition, they see that there's a lot of acreage there, and they just look at all those things and just assume, well, this means opportunity. But cheap land in a weak market is just a trap. You need to know whether or not buyers are actually there. Are properties selling? If they are selling, how long is it taking? What are the price points that properties are selling at? What sizes are they selling at? What are the use types that people are buying? Is there a demand from builders or recreational buyers or the neighbors or other investors? Or is it campers and farmers, developers, all different types of buyers, right? Are properties just sitting there? We mentioned days on the market before. Are you just seeing properties sitting there for years on end? See, that's where a lot of new investors and even ones that have been doing it for a while get burned. They find cheap land, but there's no buyer pool for them. They find low competition, but the reason the competition is low is because there's no demand there to begin with, so nobody else wants to work there. And that is not always the case, right? But you have to know how to tell the difference. Good market selection matters because it affects everything that comes after it. Again, your leads, your offers that you make, then the pricing that you put when you're putting it out there, who your buyer pool is, what your exit strategy is. Picking the wrong market can make a decent strategy look completely broken. So you have to watch out for that. The third mistake that a lot of people make is not verifying access properly. Access is one of the most important parts of a property, so it obviously ties into being very important to land investing. And I don't just mean, can I see a road on a map? So many people look at that. There is a difference between physical access and legal access. Physical access means that you can physically get to the property. Legal access means that you have the legal right to get there, but there may not be any physical access. And then in some cases, there's neither of those things. So they are not the same thing when you're looking at this. A property may look accessible because there's a dirt road or a trail nearby or something like that. But if that road crosses private land with no easement, you may have a problem. A property may be surrounded by other properties. It may be landlocked. It may have unclear access. It may require permission from another owner to get there. It may have an easement that exists on paper giving you legal access, but it doesn't exist physically. These details matter because they affect value and buyer demand. Now, some landlocked properties can still have value in certain situations. We've bought and sold a lot of landlocked properties, but you need to know what you're buying and then you need to be able to price it accordingly. The mistake is not buying a property with an access issue. Like I just said, we've bought a number of those, but the mistake is buying one without understanding what that access issue is, and not just understanding it exists, but understanding how it affects the things that follow it, namely who's going to buy it and for how much. Now, a fourth mistake that we made early on, and we've had to adjust because it's become so important in recent years, more so than ever before, is seller communication. Namely, not having good seller communication is the mistake. A lot of investors focus so much on marketing that they forget what happens once the seller responds. And this is not necessarily their fault because so many programs out there basically just teach you to do this shotgun approach and just go out and blast an area and let the sellers come to you. That did work. Don't get me wrong. We did that for a number of years, but it's not what's working today. So what happens after the seller calls? The investor's not prepared. They don't know what to ask. They don't listen. They make the conversation too transactional with the person. Then after things get going, they're afraid to negotiate with them. They don't do any follow-up, or they let the lead die because the seller just didn't say yes to them immediately. All of these things are a major mistake, right? Land investing in today's world is not just a data business like it used to be. And I say it used to be like that because you literally could just go out and you could mail a bunch to people. People would contact you, you'd make an offer. You never need to do anything else. They'd send contracts back and that was it. And then you'd sell the properties. That doesn't exist in today's world. In today's world, land investing is a people business. You're dealing with owners. They may not know what they own. They may have inherited it. They may be frustrated by it for whatever reason. They're probably skeptical of you. They may have gotten dozens of letters from others. They may not be ready today, but they could be in the near future. If you don't communicate well and follow up properly, you're going to lose those deals. Oftentimes, the person who wins is not the person that makes the highest offer. It's the person who stayed organized, they answered their questions, they followed up, they made the process easy for that seller. A fifth mistake is ignoring details that seem small in your mind until they're not. Back taxes. It's one of the things that we look at on every single property, and yet so many people skip it. Now, this doesn't make a property something that you can't work with, but you just need to know what those are before making your offer. Title problems. Ownership issues, old liens on the property. Does it need to go through probate? Was it vested wrong? Are the owners still alive? Are there easements available that either get to the property or cross that property that are being used by someone else that could affect the value? What are the restrictions on the property? If it's in an HOA, what are the rules and how much are the HOA fees? That's a huge one. Are there timeframes in which you need to build on the property? What are the county requirements on it? These things and many, many, many more can change a deal. And in reality, Sometimes they completely kill the deal. Sometimes they just change the price somewhat. Sometimes they mean that it requires more time to figure things out. Now, and sometimes they actually create an opportunity for you and can add value if you know how to solve them and work with them. But the bottom line is, regardless of what it is, you cannot ignore these things. One of the reasons that many people get hurt in land investing is that they think a property is simple just because there's no house on it. Land is simpler than many other types of real estate in many ways, but the bottom line is it still has details that can't be overlooked. Those minor details matter. A clean looking parcel on a map doesn't mean that it's clean on paper. It may have a title issue or something similar, right? A cheap property may have taxes, and all of a sudden the numbers don't matter anymore. They don't work for you. It may have apparent access, but then it doesn't really, right? It may have open zoning, but open zoning doesn't necessarily mean there's no restrictions. So this is why you need to follow a checklist and a process that matters so that you can look into these things. You don't want to just rely on memory or what you think about it or get excited about it and be like, this is amazing. You just don't know. You want a repeatable due diligence process that you follow with every single property. Now, we learned from these mistakes. They weren't fun, right? But they made us better. Wrong numbers taught us how to analyze demand. Bad pricing taught us how to value properties more carefully. Access issues told us what to verify and what to look at before we purchased the property. Seller communication mistakes that crept up on us because of how things changed taught us the importance of following up. Tax and title problems told us to build these stronger due diligence systems that we now rely on. And that's how experience works. You can either keep making the same mistakes, you can learn as you go, you can hope it all comes together, or you can turn them into systems. And that's what we did. And that being said, inside the Land Riches Blueprint, we built the training around the lessons that we learned from those real deals, from doing real deals now and for the last 15 years. It's not theory. It's not one perfect formula that fits all. It's a real world system that gets into market selection, seller outreach, pricing, due diligence, offers, how to fund them, how to close, your exit strategies, all of those things. So if you want to avoid learning these lessons the expensive way, then check out the Land Riches Blueprint. The link will be below in the comments. But the key takeaways here in this video is learn the process, use the systems, and stop guessing your way through land investing. If you do, you'll save yourself time, you'll save yourself headache, and most importantly, you'll save yourself a lot of money.